Adua TV, bringing good things to life.
Hello there, good morning and welcome. This is AM News on Adult Television. We're live all across the world on TV and online from digital address GA226-0733. Also live on digital channel 37 and 38. My name is Naa Anyema Collison. In our top stories for this morning, we'll take you to the Supreme Court where we throw highlights of some cases that has happened over the weekend. Also, we'll go to Parliament. There too, we'll give you some highlights of activities there. In business this morning, the Bank of Ghana has pushed back his monetary policy committee to address the Ghana's troubles in the economic sector. Details of these and many others coming up in a jiffy. Please be my guest. Hello again. The news is live on Facebook at Adwa Television Ghana. There you may want to join us with your thoughts and comments. Let's settle for the details now. The Supreme Court on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, ruled that a Deputy Speaker of Parliament can be counted during the formation of a quorum of Parliament's decision-making and participating in voting while presiding. This comes after private legal practitioner Justice Abudulai filed a case against the Attorney General and has asked the Supreme Court to interpret Article 102 and 104 of the 1992 Constitution and declare that the actions of Mr. Osei-Wusu as unconstitutional. This application was dismissed by the Apex Court. This has been met with several reactions and sparkled a lot of public debates, and in the following report has more.
The Supreme Court on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, ruled that a Deputy Speaker of Parliament can be counted during the formation of a quorum for parliamentary decision-making and participation in voting while presiding. This comes after private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi filed a case against the Attorney General. He had asked the Supreme Court to interpret Article 102 and 104 of the 1992 Constitution and declare the action of Mr. Osei-Wusu as unconditional. This application was dismissed by the Apex Court. This has been met with several reactions and sparkled a lot of public debate.
I couldn't understand what all of this furore and controversy that was artificially generated. We're being told that the decision of the court amounts to judicial interference in the work of Parliament. I'm not quite sure that the people who are saying this have actually taken the time to read the Constitution of our country. It says so in black and white. All organs of the Ghanaian state, including me as the head of the executive, we are all subject to the teachings of the Constitution. There's no body in the Ghanaian state that is above the fundamental law of the land. So I'm astonished about how much public energy has been wasted, I would say so with the greatest of respect, been wasted in an area, on an issue where there is so much clarity. And I'm happy that the court, and I'm sure as you're aware, the Supreme Court, when it is declaring the meaning of the Constitution, and it does so unanimously, that is the most emphatic way in which the court can pronounce.
Former Former President John Dramani Mahama on Thursday, March 12, 2022, described the ruling as shocking. According to the presidential candidate for NDC in the 2020 polls, the ruling is an unfortunate interpretation for convenience that sets a dangerous precedent of judicial interference in parliamentary procedure in the future. The minority in parliament has also described it as an unreasonable decision, noting that it is a judicial support for the controversial e-levy.
To put it aptly, this ruling is judicial support for e-levy, nothing more. For a struggling economy in distress, and judicial support for the restoration of a matter that they have said is constitutional is repugnant to the provisions of Article 102 and 104. But what can we do? They are clothed with the mandate and authority to interpret the law. This is a travesty. This is a travesty of parliamentary justice and a step in the growth and development of multi-party constitutional democracy built on the spirit and principle of checks and balances. Is it not intriguing for us to hear, whilst we await the full reasoning of the Supreme Court, to hear them that, I'm quoting from one of the justices, that the quorum in Article 102 is not the same thing as the quorum in Article 104. The judiciary of Ghana is also failing Ghana's parliamentary democracy in their inability to appreciate the true meaning of Article 110 of the Constitution, that Parliament shall by standing orders regulate its own proceedings. When we regulate our own proceedings, and today reference is only made to the 1992 Constitution and not to the standing orders of the Parliament of Ghana, and in particular, Standing Order 13, maybe they don't deserve us according them the offices they occupy. Maybe that is what the Supreme Court is ruling. We will just recognize them as MP for Fomina and MP for Bekwai, nothing more.
But for the man at the center of all the controversy, he says, has been vindicated by the court's ruling.
And I'm glad that the decision practically affirms the position I took. There's still some misrepresentation as to whether I participated in the vote itself on the night of the 30th. That I must emphasize, that everybody who is in doubt must go back and look at the clip. It was a voice vote, and I did not participate in the voice vote. But I insisted that I be counted as a member of parliament present to constitute the quorum before a decision was taken. Indeed, this decision affirms that position that I took. I find that very refreshing. Matters that have never arisen are now in the fore because of the numbers we have in the chambers. So anytime there is disagreement, as I've said already, I will interpret the rules and the law as I understand it. I encourage people who disagree with me to boldly state their position, and if need be, refer to the appropriate body like the Supreme Court to guide us. As of now, at the end of it all, we are being guided. What we have not done before, where the way was not clearly marked out by our own standing orders, have now been cleared by the Supreme Court, and I think it will help us advance our democracy and our practice in this chamber.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, Samnate George, says the ruling of the Supreme Court on the voting right of the Deputy Speaker could be problematic. While he disagrees with the decision of the Apex Court as it interferes with the authority and independence of Parliament, he says it also potentially opens a Pandora box with ominous outcomes.
And we will employ every legal means within the parliamentary procedure to ensure that this long time tested practice of Parliament which is 30 years old this year, will be upheld. Until the Lord Justices decide to start expunging parts of the Constitution, like 1045, for us to see that the application of the law is not skewed and imbalanced. I do not see why anyone who has a conflict of interest should be allowed to vote. Because 1045 says you have a conflict, do not vote. Why did the Lord Justices go silent on the standing orders of Parliament that say that a chairman of a committee does not have a vote? A chairman of a committee in Parliament does not have an original vote. So why are they not saying that that is also a deprivation of his constituents? I mean, we pray the Lord Justices. Their role is to bring clarity, and not rather lead us into confusion and obfuscate what the facts are. The law is clear. We have heard them. They've passed their ruling. But Parliament, we are masters of our own procedure. We will carry out what we believe is right on the floor of the chamber. I'm suggesting that I will protect the independence of Parliament from any interference by any other arm of government. We have stood up to the executive. We will stand up to any other arm that seeks to interfere. Or I will stand up to any other arm of government that seeks to interfere in the work of Parliament. And I can tell you that I am sure most of my colleagues are of like mind, because this is a dangerous slope. Tomorrow, you would have someone go to court, and then the Supreme Court may also rule and say that they are holding someone criminally liable for comments he made on the floor of the House. This is a Pandora's box we would not and should not open.
Let's stay a while longer on this, because Speaker Alban Bagbin has described President Akufo-Addo's comment on the Supreme Court ruling on deputy speakers as unfortunate and myopic. In his view, the Supreme Court ruling is not only an absurdity but a reckless incursion into the remit of Parliament. In a statement cited, the Speaker of Parliament said, and I quote, "I have resisted the temptation of making a comment on the judgment of the Supreme Court on the issue of the voting rights of deputy speakers when presiding, but the unfortunate and myopic comment by the President has compelled me to let it out." He continued to state that the Supreme Court's decision is, to say the least, not only an absurdity but a reckless incursion into the remit of Parliament. The trend of anonymity is equally troubling. It does not help explore and expand our legal prejudice. The President's comment is myopic and unfortunate. It only goes to worsen the scheme between the executives and Parliament. He stressed the impartiality of the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, or presiding officer has been treasured and fought for by this country throughout our democratic development. Mr. President, the issue being discussed is not about Parliament being above the law. Everyone knows that Parliament is not above the law. The executive and judiciary are equally not above the law. The issue being discussed is a political question, which is the doctrine. It took centuries to detail out the strengths of this doctrine, and the principles are settled as to when and how this book could be opened. Please, I encourage the plate off to go for a review. We stay a while longer at the court again, because the allegations made by the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame that he, Oliver Barker-Vormawor, has failed to cooperate with the police investigation about his arrest, detention and interrogation has been dismissed by the convener of the Fix the Country movement. He has filed an affidavit responding to the concerns raised by the Attorney General, explained the search warrant presented to him, and will show up to stand trial if bail is granted.
Hashtag Fix the Country movement convener Oliver Barker-Vormawor has dismissed allegations by AG that he has failed to cooperate with police investigations throughout his arrest, detention, and interrogations. Documents filed on behalf of the AG at the Tema High Court had accused the youth activist of not assisting with investigations. Mr. Baka Vomawo, who is said to be unwell, has put in application for bail through his lawyers. He's facing the charge of treason felony over allegations he has instigated members of his group to overthrow government. He has been in the custody of the police since February 11, 2022, when he was arrested at the Kotoka International Airport. Documents filed in opposition to the bill on behalf of the AG spells out challenges investigators have faced so far. The AG says the youth activist has refused to obey a court order requiring that he grants the police access to his mobile phone. A search warrant is also said to have been granted police investigators to visit the residence of Mr. Baka Vomawo. The Attorney General says he has failed to show the police any fixed place of abode within Ghana where he resides. That having regard to the nature of the offense and the punishment which conviction will entail, the applicant, a person with no fixed place of abode in Ghana, is not likely to appear to stand trial if granted bail, the AG argued. The application for bail was to be heard on Thursday, March 10, 2022, but was adjourned as the lawyers for the youth activist said they had just received the documents filed by the agent's office. The case will be heard on Monday, 14 March 2022. The hashtag Fix the Country convener has filed an affidavit responding to the concern raised by the AG. He explains that when he was presented with a search warrant and he led the police to conduct intrusive and thorough searches at his home and all the other places that were named in the warrant. Adding to his mobile phone, he explains when he received the warrant, his lawyers wrote to the Inspector General of Police entreating him to put in place the necessary agreements for the search to be conducted in accordance with the warrant. He added that he has since filed a case challenging the validity of the said search warrant. The phone, according to him, remains in the custody of the police. That I will make myself readily available to go through the present criminal proceedings, and as I have done and continue to fully cooperate with any investigations which this criminal process may entail. Portions of the agent's documents allege that two different women had claimed to be the wife of the youth activist. That following this arrest, applicant directed the police officers to speak to a lady in the United Kingdom that the applicant claimed was his wife, which allegation eventually turned out to be false. Subsequently, another woman showed up at the Hasham.
Away from the Apex Court, let's go to Parliament now, because Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Honorable Mavis Ahawa Kumsin, has assured Ghanaians and all stakeholders in the fishing sector that the ministry is putting measures in place to detect the real-time vessels that engage in illegal fishing activities. Answering question on the floor, the minister indicated that the ministry has deployed two mechanisms to combat illegal mining: the vessel monitoring system and automatic identification system to monitor illegal fishing and also detect unlicensed vessels.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the only foreign flag vessels that fish in Ghana are those who come through an access arrangement. In accordance with the fisheries law, it is only the tuna subsector that allows for joint ventures between Ghanaians and foreigners. As part of efforts to combat illegal fishing, the ministry has deployed vessel monitoring system and automatic identification system to detect in real time vessels that engage in illegal fishing activities, especially vessels without license to fish in Ghanaian waters. Mr. Speaker, what I know is vessels who have infractions have been prosecuted. Some have paid, some are still with the court. That is what I know for now. The ministry has an agency under it that is responsible for this. And we also do the VMS through with the FCWC, in collaboration with FCWC in our region. So it isn't even only Ghana that monitors, but the whole of the sub-region. Mr. Speaker, vessel owners who have obtained license from the ministry are Ghanaians, and that is what I know. I don't know of any foreigners or Ghanaian fronting for foreigners. I know Ghanaians have the license and they are fishing. Thank you.
Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mavis Hawa Kumsin, speaking in that report. Let's shift the focus because we are still in the Heritage Month and the news team shows the focus light on cloth today. The idea is to know how names and meanings of a fabric influence its purchase. Rachel Kwashi, I beg your pardon, had a conversation with a cloth vendor and has come through with the following report.
Cloth, also known as fabric, is an essential item in every individual's life as it is considered the second skin of the body. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow 1987, cloth fall into the category of psychological needs and fulfill the fundamental need of protection for all individuals. Not only does it serve as a basic human needs, it also symbolizes an individual. Fabrics have become a communication medium used to convey who the person is. There are many varied styles of dress, and the type of cloth plays an integral role in fashioning the garment. The name of a particular cloth is no exception, as some people are very passionate about the name and the meanings of the type of cloth they purchase for certain occasions. As part of activities to mark the Heritage Month in the month of March, the news team visited some cloths and fabrics vendors to get the names and meanings of some fabrics and how both influences its purchase. Madame Gloria is one of the cloth vendors and she spoke to the news team.
Okay, mama, ye anineni. I'm a function in don't be home, mama. Ekume for function. For na ekume home for funeral. Yala mama. Me kume call gbe because of gbe ni inwo. I'm a call kefio yala. Oye kuni achole. Ya hwehwe kese bi abo. Oye kuni achole tamon. Ya dipe bi afri ensem. Oye kuni aka ma mi mu wayebi. No mama le wa sort for yala. Gbe ami nwa gbe ke wona. No gbe bi antone mama ni am fi fen ko hin egbe. No ko woye ekumeye. For funeral gbe ye na. She what traditional way say le ekumeya ke akwa aba kente ke ni bi amu ameye amegbe na me hin. No mama okay, most of mama ene actually bi akroji mframa ene subra ene obapa ene akufu ke ene entutwa ho nkyeremi ke ene ludu das ene ntubin ene hu afi bi yesa no mama le fen kokegbe mama fen kokegbe ni hin.
As we celebrate the Heritage Month, remember that you can portray Ghana in your own small way. Let's do the latest in the world of business. The Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee has rescheduled the commencement of its second meeting of the year to review economic development in the country. The 105th MPC meeting of the Central Bank was earlier set for March 23 to March 25, but has been now rescheduled a week earlier from Wednesday 16th March to 18th March 2022. A statement issued by the bank, however, did not specify the state any reason for its decision. The press conference will be held on Monday, March 21, 2022, the Central Bank said. The 105th meeting of the committee is expected to entail the initiation of proposal for the formulation of the central bank's policy, provision of statistical data and economic advice. In other news, Ghana's inflation rate once again has risen to hit 15.7% in February 2022. This represents 1.8 percentage jump in the inflation rate compared to the 13.9% recorded in the first month of the year. The current rate is the highest recorded since the rebasing of the CPI and inflation in August 2019, according to data from the Ghana Statistical Service. The 15.7% increase in February 2022 was mainly influenced by housing, water, electricity, gas, transport, as well as food and non-alcoholic beverages.
Every item can only be part of one subclass, and every subclass can only be part of one class. This means that the products classification are mutually exclusive. Consumer Price Index and rate of inflation for the month of February 2022. For the month of February 2022, Consumer Price Index stood at 143 indices relative to 123.6 that was recorded for the same time last year, indicating about a 19.4 indices variation between the index that was recorded for February 2021 relative to the index that is being recorded for February 2022. The culminating variation between the 143 for February 2022 and the 123.6 for February 2021 leads to a year-on-year inflation of 15.7. This literally means that between February 2021 and February 2022, the general price levels have gone up by 15.7%. This increase of 15.7% compares with 13.9 year-on-year inflation that was recorded for the month of January 2022, indicating a 1.8 percentage variation between the year-on-year inflation recorded in January 2022 relative to February 2022. This is the second highest that we've recorded since we rebased our CPI and inflation in August 2019. The highest was recorded during the COVID-19 period between the months of March and April 2020 when the variation was 2.8 percentage points. From a month-on-month perspective, that is between January 2022 and February 2022, prices of goods and services went up by 2.4%. This compares with a month-on-month variation of 2.1% between December 2021 and January 2022, indicating a 0.3 variation of a month-on-month rate of inflation between December 2021 and January 2022 relative to January 2022 and February 2022. The disaggregation starts with a broad categorization that is from a food and non-food perspective and from a locally produced items and imported items.
Speaking in that report is government statistician Professor Samuel Naa Anyema, and that will bring us to the end of today's package of AM News on Adult Television. Meanwhile, we'll bring you an update of these stories and many others in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Naa Anyema Collison. Please do well to join us on AM Ghana Show as we deliberate on real issues. Good morning.